Hi and happy summertime, everyone. This is Alan getting back to you with what is going to be the third and hopefully the final lecture in the second section of moving toward badge number 2 in the Excel series on the topic of charting and graphing. Okay, so here I have on my screen and let me set my timer here. I have the chart that we have been dealing with so far. As you will recall that I first created a table over here on the left. As you can see way up there on the far left, the top part of your chart here. And I put down sales and profits. I then showed you how to construct a chart. Please notice that when I am in the table, that in the green bar at the top of my Excel spreadsheet, the table tab appears on the far right of all of your choices on the different tabs in that ribbon. And then when I click in the actual chart itself, please remember there are two zones. One of them is the so-called chart area, which is an object that has been set aside by Excel for the purpose of creating a chart. And then secondly, within that chart area is what they call the plot area, which is where you do the actual graphing itself, okay? So please remember those differences. I also pointed out in the past how on those areas you can hover your cursor on the edge and grab it, hold the left mouse button down rather, and drag it, move it. You can also go to the little dots at each of the four corners and each of the center points, north, south, east, and west, and expand or contract your chart area or plot area by moving the mouse around as you hold down the left button. Okay, so that's a quick refresher on what we have done. We created a so-called column chart. I originally called it a bar chart. That is not correct. A bar chart, as Excel interprets it, and I assume as statisticians interpret it, moves from left to right. Okay, so this is a columnar chart. I was walking you through some of the aspects of this tab way over here. Let me click on the Chart Design tab in the ribbon, and I was focusing on the one far to the left under that tab called Add Chart Elements and all of the different powers that gives you. Okay, so I added sales, I added profits. I pointed out that working from a table gives you a little more flexibility. So as we learned earlier in our batch number 2 series, working from a table has many advantages. This is one of them. Okay? All right, very good. Now when we left off, I was about to tell you add chart element. I'm going to come up to the upper left, way up there in the upper left corner, add chart element, and I focus on that for your attention because my cursor does not always show up on this program I'm using. Okay? So I just left clicked on that, and I'm going to go down here and click on legend. Okay, you all see where it says legend? Those are some of your choices. Right now I am not displaying the legend. Now if you're into graphing or graph interpretation, you know that when you have a graph you need a legend sometimes, especially when the graph gets a little more complex. So you can choose whether you want to place a legend for your graph or your chart on the right, the top, the left, the bottom. Okay, I'm going to put one on, let's put one on the right. Okay, so I'm going to click on right, left click, and you'll notice what happened way down here. Okay, look way up here to the, about the center point on this chart, sales and profits on the right side. You can see there's a legend there. I'm going to click on it. When I left click on it, I highlight it. I can drag that around. I can hold down my left button and move it just like that. Okay, one of the biggest problems you might have with that is you might say, well, Alan, I can't read that, okay? Well, you have the ability to click within that. I just right-clicked within that object. Now remember, that is an object. An object within the lexicon of Microsoft, and specifically here Excel, means something upon which you can perform operations unique to that object alone. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, oh, I right-clicked, and now font is one of my choices. I'm going to left-click on it. There are so many things you can do here, but what I want to do is I'm just going to say, way over here, there are 3 white bars in the middle upper section of that little font drop-down, and it says font size 9. I can't read that. I don't know about you. So I'm going to make that more than double the size. So I'm just going to type in 20. I click on OK. See what happened. Okay? Now please keep in mind that is an object. I can drag it around just like that. Okay? You'll remember up in the ribbon, you see that backwards counterclockwise pointing arrow in the green ribbon. I can click on that to undo, to backtrack as many times as I want. I just did that because I want to show you something else. I'm going to come over here to chart element, add chart element, upper left again, and I'm going to click on legend once again. This time I'll put it at the top. I left click and you see that my object appeared at the top. I can do the same thing. I can left click and hold on any area of the box surrounding it and move it. I can expand it by clicking on the handles, and I can expand the font. Okay? So that's a nice summary of how you can insert a legend. Now please remember, the more items that are contained within your chart or your graph, the more important a legend becomes. Okay? All right, very well. Let's see, what else do I want to do? All right, I know what we'll do next. I am going to talk about trend lines very quickly. Okay, now those of you who are into statistics and mathematics and business in general understand that showing a graph is one thing, but interpreting trends mathematically for these columns can be very, very important, okay? In other words, you might say, well, if this has been the way that my growth has operated in the past, that might well continue into the future. So I'd at least like to see how all of these years stack up as indicating some general mathematical direction. There are many ways in which you can do that. This is not a math course, so I'm not going to belabor that point. But I do want to say to myself, well, look at all these different columns for, say, sales. And also profits, the orange bars, the columns at the bottom. I base them on a flat percentage, so any kind of a trend that they show should be similar. So let's say I want to take my sales and identify a mathematical trend in the growth that you can see these blue bars are taking in the upward direction. Obviously a desirable position to be in if you're a business person. What I'm going to do is this. I'm going to click within the body of my chart. Okay, my chart design tab reappears, and I'm going to go to the far left under that tab where it says add chart element. I left click. Okay, now I'm going to go way down here to where it says trend line. I want to draw a trend, and there are many ways in which I can do it. Now my drop down indicates that as of right now I have nothing. Okay, I can do a linear trend. There are other mathematical functions I can follow. I can do an average. I can do what mathematicians call a regression line, a line of best fit, okay? But I'm going to keep this simple. I'm going to start with a linear pattern, so I'm going to take the second choice down, linear. I'm going to left click on that one, ladies and gentlemen. Now watch the chart and see what happens. All right, I'm going to focus on sales. Now I can choose sales or profits. I just highlight the one I want. I'm going to click on sales. It's already highlighted, so I'll just click on OK. Look at that, okay? Now, once again, that trend line that appears has taken the math that's involved in each one of these blue columns that you see, and it's tried to draw a line for you that it feels is a good fit for you based on averages. That line itself is an object. I'm going to left click on it, okay? Actually, I'm just hovering my cursor over it. I stand corrected. And you can see that it's pointing out a series. Now that is an object. If I right click on it, I can delete it. I can format it. Look at that fifth choice if I want to make it look a little bit different. Look at that. A whole drop-down menu appears way up here on the upper right. Okay? There's a lot of power there, friends, and I only have time to show you a little bit. Okay? Here are some of the other choices. I've made it linear. You can make it a moving average. I can do this whole thing all over again, back from Add Chart Element and click Moving Average. Now, as you know, a moving average takes an average every time you add a different element. The line is going to look different. Or I can do it right from here. Once again, Excel gives you so many ways to do the same thing. And what we'll do is always choose the one, as business persons, that is the most efficient, the fastest. We love shortcuts in business. So I'm going to click on moving average. See how it changed ever so slightly, because now the line is not simply following an overall mathematical trend on what it thinks the line should look like. It's doing a calculation based on the actual moving average from each one of those data points in the blue columns. Okay? If I click on some of the other tabs within that format trend line drop-down, I can make it fancy, I can give it a glow, I can do little things like that just to make it a little sweeter, to look better for the boss, okay? I'm going to come back up here and undo once again because I don't want to cause too many distractions, okay? But again, ladies and gentlemen, that is how you create a trend line. You will notice that my legend updated, okay? Now, I didn't tell it to do that, but as soon as I added a trend line, Excel said to itself, I think this fella's adding a few too many things, and the interpreter, the reader of this chart, is going to want to know a little bit more about what each one of these colors, these columns, or even the line, you'll notice it says linear sales, represents. Okay, now watch this. Just for laughs, I'm going to insert one more trend line, this time based on the orange columns. Add chart element. I left click on add chart element. I left click on trend line. Okay, and this time I'm going to keep it at linear. And, all right, hold on. Let me try that one more time. Okay. Okay, there it is, friends. You'll notice that my line appeared over profits as well. Okay? So I hope you find that helpful. You'll notice also that the legend has updated for profits as well as for sales. Okay? All right, one other thing I would like to point out to you. Moving up to the upper left corner, just under my ribbon, on the Chart Design tab, which is still highlighted, that's where I am, there's a tab called Quick Layout. If you click on that, I want to point out, I'm not going to mess with this chart now because this chart has really done its job for us. But when you're starting a chart for the first time, once you've laid out your data, once you've laid out a table, you can go out and instead of adding every single element on its own and constructing a chart from the ground up, you can actually go over to some of these templates, okay, that are going to make your life a little bit easier. Okay, so it's going to assume that you might want to follow a certain format that you've done before. So that is what the quick layout means. The second element in this tab below the ribbon. Okay, I'm also going to click on Change Colors, the third one over. Chart Quick Colors. Okay, mine defaulted to blue as the first column, orange as the second. If you don't like that, just like you can change the format of a table, you can change the format of a chart as well. Okay, I just picked that one for the heck of it. All right, and I'm going to undo that and get back to where we were. Okay. All right, very good. Now let's assume for a moment that you do not wish to see columns. For whatever reason, you would like to see a line. Okay, now if you come way over here on the Chart Design tab off the ribbon, it's the second one from the right side. It says Change Chart Type, okay? If you left click on that, and you want to see this not as columns, but as, let's say, lines, okay, I'm just going to choose line from this drop down. I left click. Look what happens, okay? So, not always, but sometimes, based upon the type of chart that you constructed in the beginning, you can change the format to something other than what you originally selected. Okay? That's what Change Chart Type means. Finally, I'm going to click on Move Chart. Now let's say that for whatever reason I want to get this chart on a page of its own. We learned that we can open a separate sheet way down here on the lower left, I can click on that plus sign to insert another sheet. Now, if I would like to get that chart onto a sheet all by itself, watch how I do that. I left click on Move Chart, the last icon to the right. I'm going to left click on New Sheet. It's going to be entitled Chart 1, or I can entitle it whatever I like. Let's call it Alan. And I'm going to left click on OK. There it is. Look at that. Now I've still got my sheet 1 intact, but now my chart has moved itself over to a page of its very own. Notice how much easier it is to read the numbers. It's much easier to make a PowerPoint slide from it. It's certainly easier for you to read it. Okay? I'm going to lay out one more sheet. I'm going to pause for a moment, then I'll be back to hopefully conclude our lecture. Hang on. Okay, I am back. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with you to create a brand new chart. Okay, so first I want to open up a separate worksheet. I'm going to come down here to the lower left and click on Insert Sheet, that little plus sign next to where it says Sheet 1. Okay, this is a review for you. I'm going to highlight a whole bunch of columns by dragging across the column heading. I right-click Column Width. I'm going to left-click on Column Width, and I'm going to make them, let's make them 35. I hit Enter. I am going to right-click somewhere in that gray zone again. I'm going to left-click on Format Cells. Number. I'm going to left-click on Number. I'm going to drop my decimal places down to 0 and insert a comma and click on OK. I'm going to come up here to the tab Home below the ribbon, and 12, the font size, I'm going to make 36 so you all can see it. I like blue, so I'm going to make all my lettering blue where it says font color, and I'm going to bold it. Okay? So this is going to be a demo of a pie chart. Okay? So let's assume I would like you to do a pie chart. I'm going to come up here to the head of column B and hold my left mouse button down, drag it way out, and give myself room for titles. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a sales dollar. Whenever I sell something, this is not an accounting course, but I want to give you a fast review. Whenever you sell something, you want to know how much of that sales dollar goes to different elements of expense, how much is left for you. What are some of the elements? The cost of goods sold, okay, the expenses for selling, the expenses for managerial and admin. You might have interest expense if you borrow money. And of course, if you are a taxable company, you might have income tax expense as well, okay? I'm just going to pick these numbers right out of the air, ladies and gentlemen. Let's say our cost of goods sold, our financial statements tell us is $250,000. Selling, let's make that 78 grand. Our admin expenses, our accountant tells us, are 55 grand. Our interest, let's make it $18,000 that we have to pay our friendly neighborhood banker. Income tax expense, let's make that, how about 17,000? Okay? So the total amount of your sales dollar would be, if you add all those elements up, okay? So you sold a total of $418,000. Of that, okay, 215, oh, you know what? We forgot the most important thing of all. Profit. That is, of course, the reason we engage in business, isn't it now? Let's say that we made $25,000. Okay? So our sales dollar is actually $443,000. All right? My colleague, Professor Paula Kelly, our professor of accounting, would shoot me if she heard that I just left profit out. Okay? So when you take our total sales dollars of $443,000, that is how it's allocated. Now, it makes perfect sense that when you're given numbers like that you would want to see visually, and I'm going to save this quickly for us, how they all stack up as, how about a pie this time? So I'm going to highlight by going up to the upper left, left click, hold the button, highlight the entire area, and I want to turn that data into a pie chart. Here's a review for you. How did I do it with columns? Same way. This time I come up to the ribbon and I click on Insert. All right, my Insert tab. Now come way over here about 4 inches into the middle, and you can see that there are some preset formats there. I'm hovering over the one that says pi right now. I'm going to left click on it. All right, pi. I don't know about you, but I kind of like 3D, so I'm going to go to the 4th one that says 3D pi. Look at that. Okay, there it is. Now, like before, I can grab this bar surrounding the chart area anywhere, left click and hold, and drag it. I can click on one of the handles. So I'm going to click on the lower right, and left click and hold, and look how big that thing becomes. Okay, nice review. Okay, by the way, I could have turned this into a table. The benefit of making this a table before I drew my chart is if I added another element to it, the pi would automatically update. Okay, please remember that. I'm going to click back in the chart area. Okay, so you'll notice that a legend appeared. Now, I did not put that legend in there. The system assumed that I wanted one because I selected a pre-formatted pi type of setting. So I'm going to right-click somewhere in that zone where my legend is. I can delete that legend if I want to. I can click delete. I like it. I want to leave it there, but you know what? I can't read it. So I'm going to left-click on font. Okay, my font size is 9. That's way too small, isn't it, guys? So I'm going to make that 25. And I hit enter. Okay, that's a little bit easier, and I'm going to make my chart even bigger. I'm going to drag it to the left. I'm going to grab that lower right handle and make it a little larger. Okay, chart title. I'm going to left click on chart title. You'll notice the object becomes an object. It highlights as an object. I'm going to left click my cursor in that and give it a title that I want. I'm going to call it Alan's Sales Dollar. And of course I'm going to delete the rest of the characters that say chart title. Okay. And finally I'm going to take that, I'm going to right click that object. I'm going to left click font. I'm going to make that font a lot better to read, easier to read. I'm going to make it 25, well, let's make it 30. And I also happen to like red, as you've already seen, so I'm going to left click on font color. It gives me a palette. I'm going to left click on red, and I click on OK. Okay, and it didn't work. Let me try that one more time. Font size 30. Okay, hold on one second. Let me find out why that didn't work. Just give me 1 second here, friends. Okay, it did not work because obviously I totally forgot my own rule. I forgot to highlight what it is I want to change. So I'm left clicking and dragging over the characters in that font. My apologies for that error. Okay, goes to show you even warhorses like my own self can make a mistake. Okay, so now I right click, I left click on font, and I do it again. I'm going to change my font size to, let's say, 30. My font color to red. Click on OK, and there it is. That's what I wanted to happen the first time. All right. The very last thing I'm going to do, friends, is the pi looks nice, the legend looks nice, but I'd like to see some numbers. Let's assume I show my boss just the pi and I don't show her any of the underlying data. So what you would want to do is insert the data right into that pi itself. So I'm going to click on Chart Design in the ribbon. I'm going to click on Add Chart Element, left click. I'm going to click on Data Labels. I'm going to click on Best Fit, left click. Okay? Now, are you having a little trouble reading that? I am. I'm going to try making the chart a bit bigger. Okay? But I am having trouble reading those numbers I just put in there, so I'm going to left click on one of them. All of them open up as objects because what I do to one, I will do to all of them. I'm going to right click. I'm going to left click on font. I'm going to make them a little bit bigger. Let's make them 20 in size. I left click on OK. Now that's a lot easier to read, isn't it? Okay, there it is. That's how my sales dollar splits out. You see the pie, a nice visual, you see the numbers, you see a legend. Okay? Now remember, keep in mind you can do a lot more with all of these charts. My goal here is to get you started. So I will end by reminding you of our mantra, okay, which is, as always, experiment, explore, and as I sometimes add, practice, 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 okay? This is the last in my series of lectures regarding charting, and this will be followed by a proficiency quiz, the second one in our badge number 2 series. Thanks very much, and I will post this worksheet along with my video. Take care, and have yourself a good week. Bye-bye.